Hi, I'm Anna Loza. I'm here with Brianna Berner and really excited to have this conversation. Hi, Brianna. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So just before we started recording, I was commenting on the quote on your shirt,
Yes,
well-behaved women rarely make history. I love that.
me
Do you,
too.
do you, how do you live that?
How do I live that? By doing me and not, I guess, not holding myself back or hating myself for a lot of the stupid stuff I've done in my past and
Mhm.
just going with it and being brave and doing what feels right.
Right on. So what are you up to in your work life, in your projects, and your passions?
Yeah, so I am a productivity coach and professional organizers, and I help other mompreneurs in the digital space simplify and streamline their life and just figure out how to juggle running a digital business and getting dinner on the table and cleaning and just it can be a lot. It can be completely overwhelming. And I recently started adding a mindset and happiness component to that because so many of the women that I've been speaking to, want to have more time and want to figure out how to do it. But if they don't think that they can do it, then it's really not going to happen. So that's something that I've been exploring and diving really deep into, and that I just love how that's blossomed and turned into something really awesome in my practice that I'm just really excited about right now.
Awesome. So is that something that, you're living? Are you a mom?
Yeah, yeah. So I have a 3-year-old, and for the first year or so that I was in business, I was a work at home mom. I had my toddler home with me, and I had to figure out how to basically get a day's worth of work in the 2-hour nap time that I had when he decided to take a nap. And it was a challenge, but it was really fun and I guess empowering to figure out how to do that. And, at the end of the week, when I would see how much I could actually get done in just that tiny block of time, a lot of my methodology came from that. And so I've transitioned to teaching general time management to really honing in on that. And yeah, just showing women that, you may not have a whole lot of time, but it is completely possible to get so much done in just these tiny chunks of time that we're able to carve out. And once people start seeing that and realizing it and living it, it's a great feeling.
Yeah. Can you share like a little bit of your like two favorite tips or something, or can you just boil something down for us to have
Yeah,
like a takeaway?
absolutely. So the main thing that I do and that I teach is so we have a million things to do on our to-do list every day. So I separate it into 3 separate lists: high energy tasks, low energy tasks, and then things I can do while my kid's climbing all over me. And then I keep each of the 3 to-do lists prioritized. So whenever if I have 2 minutes to work on something and my toddler's on my back, I can grab the top thing from that list. Or and I time block and I schedule out, but if I ever have extra time, I have these organized lists so that no matter how much energy I have, how much brain power I have something that I can sit down and get right to work on, so I don't waste 10 minutes trying to figure out what to do. And I think those 10 minutes, those 2 minutes that you waste just add up. um and so yeah, I think that's really the biggest thing for all of us, is just not to, I guess, waste that time getting into your zone and figuring out, but being able to sit down and just go right to work.
That's so amazing. I get this sense as you're talking about that women are incredible, mothers are so incredible, and just needing to figure it out. Like if you have that dream as well as the dream of tending to your child,
Hmm.
you got to do that. You got to
Yeah.
have those 2 minutes and snag them and utilize them.
Yeah.
I'm just so impressed.
Yeah, no, and yeah, it's just people out there who just do it and rock it out are absolutely phenomenal. And it's just, yeah, it's so powerful. And yeah, I love being able to help in whatever way I can, just get the ball rolling for them.
Mm-hmm. Were you into organizing and time management at all before you had your kid?
I mean, yes and no. I wasn't really organized. I mean, I was a total mess in my 20s. But that was more, I've come to realize that I was the type of person that I couldn't sit down and just organize, a corner of my desk. If I didn't have an entire day to dedicate to the whole project, I'd put it off and put it off, and just overcoming that perfectionism and just breaking things down into bite-sized pieces so it wasn't overwhelming. Like once I got that, I was like, oh, okay, it really isn't that tough to, pull it together. And I have always been efficient and liked finding, constantly improving and finding better and better ways to do things. So that was always a part of my personality. But I think that just the challenges that I faced once I had my son brought it to a completely different level and just unlocked so many parts of it that I guess I didn't realize were there until I just started living it and working through it. Mm-hmm. And I guess while I was doing that, I did start reading more on ways to improve it. I, spent years just figuring out, how to get from where I was there to where I am now. And so I guess one of the best things that has come from that is I'm now able to take all of the stuff that I've studied and put into practice and figured out what works and what doesn't work, and, hand it over on a plate ready to, implement immediately.
That's so great.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. So what are you experiencing with the moms and the clients that come to you? Like, what point of their experience are they in when they seek out your help?
Overwhelm. I think I would say that the majority of women who I speak to, the number one thing that they face is just being completely overwhelmed. Just they have so many things to do. And, a lot of the women that I talk to are just very high achieving women who think that they have to do it all. And just, learning how to say yes to the things you want to say yes to and saying no when you should be saying no, and finding that balance in your life when you want to be able to do everything can be really challenging. And I feel like a lot of times when women want to say no to something, they feel like they're being a failure on some level, rather than looking at it as saying yes to something else that's more important. So it's just getting to that point where, you can beat the overwhelm by just keeping things simple and doing the things that are right for you and your family and your business and your situation, and the things that will genuinely make you happy.
I love that. I love prioritizing like the joyful and the happy experiences. And yeah, you're right. We, as a culture, and especially for women, we're trained so much to say yes in terms of like pleasing someone or nurturing and going that extra mile. And that's really valued and considered to make us, good mothers or good women or whatever.
Right.
So I love that.
And I feel like so much of the time management stuff that's out there is so like stiff and mechanical and, like putting it into a matrix and to figure out what's important and what's urgent, but it's missing that like humanistic component of, not necessarily reaching your goals, but also reaching your personal goals and, finding that happiness. So that's one thing that's one of the reasons why I've incorporated this happiness thing, is because we are human and we need to be working on the stuff that does bring us that joy, and we're not stiff mechanical robots who should just be plugging things into a matrix to decide how we want to live our lives. Like, that's just weird.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like maybe some of the time management stuff that's out there. It's like, well, how do I do absolutely everything?
Yeah.
Versus what I'm hearing from you is like, well, how do I really intuitively, heartfelt, heart-centered make a choice that's right for me, and then actually do those things that have chosen to be right?
Right. Absolutely. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely.
So what kind of transformations have you seen in the lives of the moms that work with you?
Just a feeling of, I want to say, just peace, that and understanding and self-acceptance that it's, how am I trying to say this? Once you get to that point where you're doing the right things in your day, I mean, I don't really think that it's necessarily life-changing and life-altering, because you're just living your life genuinely and happily, and all of the stress and those negative thoughts in your head that were there are gone. Yeah, we're still gonna question ourselves, but just being at peace with yourself and being happy and confident in the choices that you can make on a day-to-day basis. And even taking that a step further back into time management, that once you're confident in those abilities and you've had that transformation, that you can trust yourself, you're not wasting time constantly second guessing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And constantly wondering if you're making the right decision, and constantly, questioning whether, oh my God, if I start this project now, am I going to have to halt something at home, or vice versa? Just being able, because perfect balance doesn't exist. And that's one thing that I would never promise anyone. I could never say that I will teach you a way to be able to juggle, because it's finding that imperfect balance that just fits into your own life. And that's completely unique for everyone. And so everyone will have, I guess, a unique end result, because they're just finding a way to make it work that fits into their life.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. It just sounds like such a feminine, intuitive approach that you bring, and that it's just so soft and malleable and effective at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I really value that.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about this new piece that you said you're integrating now, about the mindset piece.
Yeah. So, a lot of, and it starts with what I was saying earlier, but how we are constantly questioning ourselves. And especially as mom entrepreneurs, we have this like huge cloud of mama guilt hanging over us, that, oh, are we putting our business before our family? And even more than that, like, are we these, horrible people because we're going after our dreams and chasing something that most people would just be like, not give a second thought to? And that can be really limiting. A lot of times, whether we realize it or not, we'll stop ourselves from going for something bigger, just because we're blocking ourselves, because we look at it as we're putting ourselves first. We're putting ourselves before our family. We're putting, we think that we're better. It's giving us some sort of self-entitlement. And, before you can really find that imperfect balance in your life, you have to be able to accept all of the different things that you're trying to juggle. And until you reach that self-acceptance, it's, you can't move past it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so interesting. I think that piece about the mama guilt and going after our dreams and having them be perceived as selfish in the work that I do with people, which is tapping and EFT, it's so common for so many of us to have this feeling of giving to others is comfortable, and putting others first almost always is comfortable. And then just taking some time back for ourselves is, yeah, so much guilt comes up around that. So like, what are you suggesting to people? What are your methods of, navigating that with people?
Well, I think the first thing is, approaching it with the mindset that it's okay to make this change, and that, you should want to reach for those better things. You should want to better yourself. That life should be a constant journey of self-exploration and just, making yourself better. You're not doing that for yourself. You're doing that for your kids or, whoever else you have in your life. It doesn't have to be selfish, that it can be completely looked at from, you're doing this for everybody. You're doing this for the world. You're doing this for the next generation, whatever it may be that you're working towards, there's a greater good in it. And, you have to have that growth mindset that, you can reach even bigger and better things if you just push yourself and you explore your possibilities, and then just diving deep and looking at, okay, so why are you holding yourself back? Where do these limiting beliefs come from? And, just taking the time to find the root of those and meditate on those and explore them. And then, change them into, rather looking at them as a source of fear, being like, okay, well, what can I learn from this? How can I change this into something and pull the positive learning aspect out of that? And then anytime going forward where I want to stop myself or hold myself back because of, whatever this block may be, changing it and being like, but this is where it could take me if I apply the lesson inside of it. I know that's very vague and abstract. I guess, an example of it, if I'm holding myself back from, because I feel inadequate, a teacher when I was younger, like no matter how hard I worked, I could never get an A. It was just one of those teachers that was just impossible and nothing was ever good enough. That's something that as an adult, you could have carried that sense of inadequacy to you in adulthood. And so you have that sense that no matter how hard you work, what's the point? What's it matter? So rather than limiting yourself from it, you could turn it around and just be like, what? This teacher was pushing me and teaching me that, the harder I work, the more I'm going to grow, the more I'm going to learn. And taking that aspect of it or that lesson from it and using it as motivation to push harder rather than limiting yourself and holding yourself back from it, and just changing the narrative around it.
Yeah, that's such powerful work. Our beliefs play such a huge role in our life and the choices that we think are even within our reach. Like someone may just believe that to be a mom is to be in a constant state of overwhelm and that there's no way out of that. And yeah, like you were saying, someone who just chooses like, yeah, well, I'll just give up my dreams. Like that's just how it works rather than, the tools that you're offering. Do you ever get someone that just thinks that that's too much work to go in? Sorry.
I think I'm losing the video.
It's good on my end. Maybe not now. Is it good now?
Sorry, I have bad video. Can you hear me now? Screen got all funky on me for a minute.
So
okay, I didn't hear what you said though. I'm sorry.
That's cool. So I was wondering if you ever get a person who thinks that it's just like too much work to go in and do this belief work, and they're just like, wait, what? Now I have to go inside. Like I don't know how to do that. That just seems like a lot of energy. Do you ever get someone like that?
I think
I think I just lost your audio.
a person who has okay,
Okay, we're good on my end.
I don't know we have storms coming through. I don't know if it's something's acting up outside, but I definitely think this is happening on my end.
We're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If I cut back out, I'm I don't know what's happening. So, I guess if someone were to come to me and say that it's too much work to dive deep and figure all of that out, then I don't think that they're ready for, one, the type of coaching that I have to offer. Because if they do think it's too much work, well, you know what, time management, it's not like I'm going to hand you this like secret book that all of a sudden you're going to have 500 more hours in the day. You know, no matter what, you're going to have 24 hours in a day. It's how you use them. And you have to put in some work beforehand to actually get results from that. You can't just, you know, make a quick change. You have to, you know, get yourself a little organized beforehand. You know, you have to take time to organize your to-do list, how I had said that. You have to put some systems in your place to just streamline your processes. And if you don't have the time to do the mental work, then you're probably not going to have the time to, you know, do the actual work as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that idea, to just come back to that we all got 24 hours in a day. So how is it that some people accomplish so much and do it all with ease and joy, and some people struggle? I guess, like, do you have some personal things that you're still learning on this journey right now at the point where you're at? Like, what are some things that you're want to integrate, or some challenges that you might be having?
Yeah. Well, so we just put our son into daycare a couple months ago. So I went from having the 2 hours a day to having full 8-hour days. And I swear I wasted that entire first week because I was like, oh my God, I have all this time, you know? And so I had to go back to the time management basics, and I sat down and I tracked how I was spending my time all day, every day, just to, I guess, make this new normal work for me and figure out how to structure my day. And yeah, it took me a couple weeks to transition into that. And you know, because it wasn't something that I was used to, and I needed to figure out how to, you know, where to put my time blocks during the day. And that's still something that I change. So, you know, time blocking is something that I do where, you know, I take about an hour and a half time block in the morning, an hour and a half in the afternoon, and I just schedule one specific thing in each. And then there's white space around it for, you know, because stuff always takes longer than you think it's going to. And then if I do finish up, I just grab something else off my to-do list. You know, but if I want to change something else up in my life, you know, now that it's getting hotter out, I don't want to go for a run at 11 a.m., you know, I move that up. So I just have to rearrange my day. And I'm constantly just keeping my feelers out to make sure that anything I change is the right change. And, you know, sorry, where was I going with this? Just constantly refining and trying to become more efficient while still staying on task. It's a constant struggle, you know. There are some days, like we were on vacation all of last week, and then this week I'm just going absolutely crazy. I have a big launch coming up on Monday. You know, so that balance isn't really in my life this week. You know, I'm not cooking a solid dinner every single night. You know, I'm working later than I normally would. But I accept that that's okay. You know, after I launch, then I'll switch back and I'll, you know, take my son out of daycare earlier a couple days next week, you know, I rein that balance back in or something, you know. That's probably just my mom feeling bad that, you know, I'm not being on form this week in that department, but that's just how it is. And I have to accept that.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a lot of self-compassion and just flowing with it, and, you know, just using the tools that you have and that you give to your clients to figure out, yeah, because as life changes, you know, that's how we know the tools are effective, that we can take them and apply them again and again when life shifts.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, yeah, not just something that I preach about. I practice it myself every time I have, something change in my life or something that I want to change in my life. I go back to those basics and use them myself and just figure out the best system that's going to work out for me and keep my day moving along.
Yeah. So tell me about this launch. What are you launching? Or can you talk about it?
I can. I sent out an email.
This will actually be out the day that you launch.
Okay, sweet. So all of the details can go into that. So I currently have my comprehensive time management program that goes through everything from mindset, goal setting, effective time management, systems, automations, organization, the whole works. But I know a lot of women don't have the time to commit to a comprehensive, month-long plus program. It can be, it just adds to the overwhelm when they're already struggling with finding the time to do anything as it is. So I've broken it down into 5 mini courses. So the main foundational material from the course is going to be offered in 5 mini courses, that follow the same order as the main course. And, they can always upgrade to the main course as well. But I've created them and, I've had to rework some of the material so that it's a quick action solution that they'll see, immediate results within a week. And I'm so excited about it because I know that, how I've made it, and I've changed some of the material in the workbooks to really get those fast results. Because when someone, comes to me for a time management solution, it can be kind of, I guess, a letdown to know, okay, I do have to put in some work before I can get those results. So I've tried to structure it so they can start getting little wins faster to build the momentum and the confidence that they do have the ability, to do a complete overhaul on it. And then, or maybe they just need work in one little area. The to-do list organization, or maybe, time blocking, they just can't figure that out, or setting up systems that actually work for them. Some people just want to do one portion of it, so that gives them that option as well.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So how has that launch experience been for you to gather everything and just tell us a little bit about your launch strategy.
Well, the main thing that I've had to do, because a lot of the course material's already there. So how I did it is I put everything into a Trello board, all of the different there's 101 videos in my main course. It's comprehensive. And so I did the Trello board. I created the courses, and then I just had to pull and move stuff around just to see, to make sure that each of the courses was covering and going deep enough in the topic to get the result. So I think organizing it and figuring that out was the biggest challenge, just because it's so much material. So then I also came up, while I was on vacation, just relaxing, came up with, I'm going to be hosting 2 webinars next week on this new work at home power method that I literally came up with poolside, because my brain was relaxed, and, I was just inspired on the spot. And putting this, it's the best free content I have ever put together. I'm so excited about it. And I just love how once my defenses were down and I wasn't in constant go mode, that, this amazing inspiration hit that just goes to show that it really does pay to just slow down every once in a while and take in everything around you. But yeah, putting that together and emails and graphics and staying organized.
Well, you know how to do that for sure.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, just these creative hits that come to us when we're relaxed. That's such a gift. And I think the general cultural productivity model of, yeah, you just got to keep going, keep doing it, versus the kind of intuitive, slowed down model. The productivity model misses those creative
Right.
relaxation times. And maybe
Yeah.
that's why like mindfulness is coming into the workspace now, because people are realizing there's benefits to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I've definitely had some like really good inspirations too, just while relaxing and just letting the mind and like the soul come through in a way that's not constricted with all the like the hectic little to-do pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So what about your partner? You mentioned that like how does your partner view like what you're doing, and is there like, are you influencing like the whole household with your organizational?
no, I'm actually in a situation. He does not support what I'm doing at all. He thinks that it's complete BS and doesn't understand it. And I think that experiencing that has allowed me to, I guess, touch base with. I think a lot of women entrepreneurs face that, mompreneurs face that people are like, what are you doing? Just putzing around on your computer all day. And, experiencing that firsthand, has allowed me to connect on a deeper level with a lot of the women who face that same issue at home. Yeah. So.
Wow, that's so powerful. For sure. Do you have some clients that are facing that issue at home?
Um, Not currently. I have not clients. I have definitely have women like on my email list and in my community
Mm-hmm.
who, we email back and forth, and, I let them know, look, I'm right there along with you. It sucks. But I think that women who are in that position, it's important for them to find that community,
Mm-hmm.
especially since we're not going into the office every day, and we have coworkers to talk to or vent to about it. We're in the online space, and when you don't have that support from your family at home, you have to have that support system somewhere, or it's going to be really tough to keep going and to see the importance in the work you're doing, because you may lose sight of that importance yourself, and you may hear that negativity and take it inside yourself and be like, you know what, maybe I am wasting my time. Maybe I shouldn't do this. And it's really important to find other people who can keep the goal in mind, and keep reminding you of what you're doing in the world and why it's important and why you need to just push through and keep going, and screw him, he's not going to get it anyway. You can't change someone else, so you
Mm-hmm.
just got to do you and keep going.
So you have that community in your online experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Is there some other, like, what else do you do to keep your motivation high as a work at home mompreneur?
Oh, I mean, my motivation just comes from loving what I do.
Mm.
And I have days where, I scheduled to work on something that I'm just not, I can't commit to it. And I know I can't do my best work because I just can't get into that headspace. And, I'll ask myself, okay, so what am I feeling today? And then I'll find a way to work on that instead. I know, and that's me, that's my personality type. I know that if I'm too strict on myself, that the work that I produce is boring and flat, and just lacks that heart. So I know that to stay motivated and to keep creating that heart-filled content, that I have to work on something that I am feeling and that is moving me that day, because it does vary day to day. One, or it could be 11 o'clock at night, and something I just feel really passionate about, and I'll sit there and write 10 pages about that. But yeah, the motivation's definitely just feeling aligned with what I'm working on in the moment, and just going with it and opening myself up to it.
I love that. That's such a, just like you keep coming back to it being just such a heart-centered approach with just the innate inspiration that happens and following that. So do you have some content on your blog that people can start to see and work with?
Yeah, I have, for that in particular, I have a couple different free challenges. I have a free goal setting challenge that really dives deep into making sure that the goals and projects that you're working on are aligned with your values, your vision, and your aspirations. Just to make sure you're not wasting your time on something that isn't a true representation of you. So in line with that, that's probably the best place to start for that. With some journaling exercises in there just to get really to dig deep and, you know, pull that out and aligning yourself with your work better.
I love that. What other challenges do you have up on there?
I have a Get Shit Done challenge, which is all about systems and automations. And I have a 5-day productivity challenge, which it touches on the values and the, you know, vision portion of it, not as deep as the Goal Crushers challenge. And then goes through, you know, doing a time audit and creating time blocks and scheduling in the important stuff. And the 2 bigger challenges also have a day scheduled in to reflect on everything and refine what's working, because I think that that's the one step that most people skip, but it's probably the most important to really find that system that works for you is, you know, to schedule in time regularly to look at what you're doing and, you know, see how if it feels right and, you know, if it's working right and making adjustments as you go and just finding that perfect sweet spot. And yeah,
it sounds to me like as you're talking about that your approach to goal achievement and time management is really a process of knowing oneself and just like supporting that innate self to really just do its loving, soul-centered work.
Absolutely. And I use like the Myers-Briggs type assessment a lot. My comprehensive course, I break everything down and then explain it for the different personality types so they can understand, you know, just how they function and how it can be applied. I have a lot of material on the blog that dives into time management and finding that perfect spot for you based on the strengths and weaknesses of your personality type, because I really feel that that is such an important factor to take into consideration. But again, keeping yourself open, because that isn't necessarily a fixed characteristic of you and things are going to change. So yeah, it's a lifelong process of just continuing to figure out what works best for you and what feels best for you and perfecting it as you go.
I love it. It really makes me feel like so much more calm about time management and so much just like a tranquility around it.
Right.
Rather than kind of like the hard-lined experience that you were referring to in the beginning.
Yeah, that just feels so gross to me. And it doesn't have to be like that, you know? And I guess that's the message I'm trying to put out, is that you can find that system, that it's completely possible to find that way that works for you. You know, you will have to do a little work to get to it. But once you're there, it's so worth it. And, you know, just being able to flow through your days and get so much done and not feel that guilt that, you know, or that anxiety that you're forgetting something or missing something. You know, it's so worth it to get to that point and, you know, exist in that space.
Yeah. Get things done because it's your dreams and it's your goals. Not just because it's like something you've got to do today.
Yeah. You know, and we all have there's plenty of things that we have to do that, you know, we just have to do. But when you're working from a more inspired place, it's not as draining to do that stuff. you know, it really does make such a difference. And I guess it's just creates a better perspective and outlook on it all. But, you know, when you're working from a better place, the little mundane things aren't as boring and horrible to have to force yourself to do, you know?
Yeah, totally. So we're going to put links to your website and everything that you're doing here with this interview. And I guess the best thing to do to work with you right now is join you on this launch.
Yeah. This, like I said, this webinar that I'm going to be hosting, the content is just so amazing. It's my work at home power method on just how to overcome the mindset blocks that are slowing you down during the day, getting yourself organized so you stop wasting so much time, and then little changes you can make just to make yourself more efficient during the day so your evenings are open for fun.
That sounds so incredible. Brianna, thank you so much for sharing all of this and sharing your like enthusiasm for making this easy and flowing and lovely. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having me. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah.